G'day everyone and welcome to Ace Trainer Australia. This is another interview series that we are going to be conducting. This time it is with Australian content creators and it is my great pleasure to introduce Kishara De Silva
Hey.
and Roland Allen of Porygon2ube.
Hello.
Alright boys, it's really nice to have you on this evening, Australian time. I've been a big fan of your content since you guys have started up. For those of you who aren't aware, Porygon2ube on YouTube, that's difficult to say, is a series where these guys are doing two sort of unique different things. They're using PTCGO content together and they are taking video footage of league challenges and commentating over it, something that hasn't really happened in Australia up until this point with you guys. I want to go to Kishara first and ask you who started it? Which one of you guys, why did you guys decide to start Porygon2ube?
Basically, we've probably been throwing around the idea for a few years, to be honest. Roland and I have known each other for a while. And basically, I think the stars aligned for this year in particular. I mean, I finished my uni degree and Roland just started his first year of uni and we were busy before that. So we decided this was the time to get it started. So I basically contacted Roland and said, what do you think about starting a channel? And yeah, it's sort of snowballed from there. And we're pretty happy with where it's going. I think we got some pretty decent content out there. So yeah, basically, yeah, just decided one day, let's do it. And here we are.
All right, Roland, I want to talk to you now. As a fresh school leaver coming into university and coming sort of back to the Pokemon trading card game after some time off, I've noticed, for this season. What is it like diving right back in headfirst into all things Pokemon TCG?
It's almost correct. Well, I'm actually entering, I suppose this year is actually my third year of uni. But yeah, 2015 was my first year of uni. But yeah, I suppose the story is still the same about, coming back to it. And I only entered one event in 2015, because that was sort of me coming back because I didn't play an event in 2014. That was my only event in 2015. Last year, 2016, I played in quite a few more. But yeah, so I suppose coming back to it, yeah, it was interesting. It's sort of good fun, sort of playing after having a break. I think Pokemon's a game where you can almost have more fun, the longer the time since your last event. So yeah, I think it's been sort of enjoyable. Yeah.
All right, I want to go to you, Kishara, now. I want to ask you about your history with the Pokemon trading card game. We've known each other for quite a few years, but there will be people out there, Australian players and players from all over the world too, who won't have heard of you guys, and what I want to do is get your first-hand recount on how you got into the Pokemon TCG.
I think it was basically, I was in my uni holidays in my second year of uni back in 2010, and I stumbled across some pack opening videos, and then I sort of just started clicking, and then YouTube suggestions came up on the side, and I think I stumbled across a Jay-Witz video, like one of his very first videos where he's just like absolutely mental and going off his nut. From there, I actually started my own pack opening channel back then. It was called NZ Kish, and I just started cracking packs. And then I didn't even know, because I used to live in New Zealand before moving to Australia. I didn't even know there was a community in New Zealand. So somehow someone found that video and contacted me to come along to a local league, and that's how I got into competitive Pokemon. And yeah, so I've pretty much been committed to it ever since then. So maybe mid 2010 to late 2010, and then I've just been playing throughout. And probably my most successful and notable achievement was winning New Zealand Nationals in 2014, and I got to go to Worlds that year as well, which was amazing. And yeah, I've just been in and around the competitive scene since then. So that's more or less my history with the Pokemon trading card game. Of course, I used to collect as a kid, who didn't? But yeah, in terms of competitive Pokemon, that's basically my story.
All right, Roland, the same question goes to you now. You just mentioned a little bit about your history with Pokemon, but I understand that you did play quite a bit before that as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So I suppose, yeah, that's kind of like part two of, my sort of playing time. But yeah, the first part probably would have started maybe like the start of 2009. or even late 2008, I think. Yeah, my first event was at a Cardtastic. It was the store called. It was Cardtastic, a Battle Roads, a now long defunct event. And I think the site that actually got me into playing competitively was, I don't know if it's still around, Pojo.com. I don't know if that means anything to either of you guys, but just like it's interesting. So the origin stories that we all have are like Kish's, like it can feel almost a bit arbitrary. Like, sometimes you stumble across, like a website, or someone like, mentions to you that, oh, hey, this has like a competitive scene. And I think that's always interesting. So I started playing probably late 2008. So I was in seniors at that point. And then would play for all the way up until I then moved into masters in 2012. I won nationals in 2012. In my first year in masters. Got to go to a few worlds a few times. That was always fun. And then took a break, sort of going to like year 11, year 12. So I didn't really play for 2013 or 2014. Just took a break, and then sort of came back, mostly last year. And that's probably the short version of my history playing the game.
All right, guys. Thank you very much for that. I mean, I seem to have started roughly in between you guys. I started about mid 2009 kind of area. I picked up a theme deck from an EB Games that was $20, and I googled events online.
Was it on sale?
It was on sale. It was like $13 or something, half price.
Yeah.
I googled events online, and I found out when I originally came back to playing the game after that original stint that there was a nationals in Brisbane, the one that you won, Roland, and that was sort of my first proper competitive event. I went 3-3,
awesome.
I think.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
It was a long time ago. It feels like it was a long time ago.
It feels like it was ages ago, yeah.
I think it was a while ago now, if you think back.
Yeah,
it's like 2010 years. 2007 was 10 years ago now. I'm just like, what?
That is actually insane. Yeah.
All right, guys. So, when we were talking about the Porygon2ube, I want to get your guys' sort of first-hand explanation of what Porygon2ube is. Half the reason why I wanted to do this video is I wanted to give you guys sort of an additional spotlight to the one that you're already creating for yourselves, and I think that is important in the Australian community, and that is to get us all out there simultaneously. So I want to hear from Kishara first. What is Porygon2ube to you guys?
Porygon2ube is basically, for me, the reason why I think we started the channel is basically to get Australian players out there onto the world stage. I know a lot of European events, a lot of American events are streamed and recorded, but as you said, we've never really had that in Australia. And going forward, I think it's great to have Australian players out there, and it's also good, I think, for players to be able to look back on their videos and in their games and then see how they can improve, see the strategies that other players employ. So basically, I mean, I started it basically just to get the players out there. And to be honest, I really enjoy commentating a lot more than I thought I would. So that's just a bonus for me. But that's the reason why I started Porygon2ube. I just really wanted to get some recorded events out there for Australia.
Roland, do you share a similar sentiment?
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I probably looked like I was grinning like an idiot. Definitely. I think it's a lot more fun. Than I thought. It might have been at first. And I mean, I think commentary is just good fun. But also having sort of putting Australian events out there. It's always good. It's just a good feeling. Having like people from all around the world being able to watch Australian players. And as you mentioned, Kish, that's like another really good reason. Is players just being able to watch over their own videos, and it's a good way to learn. And it's cool just seeing like your friends playing on camera. It's like, oh hey, look at this game that you're in, and like isn't that interesting? And I think that's kind of like a neat thing.
Yeah, I can tell you guys, having the honor to cast the nationals last year, it was 10 times more. It was 100 times more than I could have ever imagined, and how enjoyable it ends up being getting to commentate on videos. I can totally understand where you're coming from in that perspective. My next question, I'm going to start with Roland this time, as you were the winner of the last League Challenge that you guys recorded. It was this previous weekend. Do you guys plan to remain competitive players in the midst of all of this content that you guys are producing?
Yeah, I think for myself, like to an extent, in the sense that because fortunately it's not really sort of recording at events and then subsequently commentating on it and actually playing in that event. They're not mutually exclusive. So the good thing is that you can still obviously play in events while you record. I mean, obviously you've got to hassle people to put games on the camera and all that sort of stuff, but basically it doesn't really impinge on you playing the game. So every event that I go to, I'm going to be playing. Obviously for fun, but to win as well, just like any other player would. But I don't really have aspirations of playing Worlds or anything like that. So I'm not playing sort of super competitively in that respect. Probably not investing heaps in like new cards and that sort of thing, just because going to Worlds is too impractical sort of at this stage, the way sort of my year works out. So but yeah, definitely every event that I'm at, definitely giving it a fair shot. And because fortunately it isn't mutually exclusive. However, the flip side of that is actually commentating live is mutually exclusive with playing, obviously. So if sort of live commentary becomes a thing for us or for me, or for anyone, that's just naturally going to interfere with playing competitively. But at this point, try to do both.
Kishara, how about you?
Yeah, I'm probably in a similar boat to Roland. I'll probably travel around to the events, but in terms of my competitive aspirations, Porygon2ube definitely comes first for me. I think I even sat out one of the Geelong League challenges because there was just so many players that I decided it would just be impractical for me to play and record, so I just decided to record. So competitive play is definitely taken a back seat for me. I'd much rather focus on the content and commentary, but also I think just going to events and playing also makes your content more relevant. If you're out there, what the meta is, what the feel of the tournament is, you've played in it. So I think staying competitive will definitely contribute to the content, but I'm not spending hours testing or anything like that. Porygon2ube is my main focus, but I'll definitely travel to the events and play because, as Roland said, they're not really mutually exclusive if you're just recording.
Talking about travel, guys, brings us perfectly into our next topic, which is the international that we have coming up in March. Now, you're both Melbourne locals, which is very lucky for the pair of you. You'll be a short trams ride away from the event, no doubt. You guys will both be attending.
Melbourne tram.
Yeah, if the weather's not too hot and the trams are shut off.
yeah, which is a distinct possibility.
You guys, will you guys... Alright, I want to give you a bit of a hypothetical question now. The International Challenge, we're in February, and there is a call-out for commentators for the event. Is Roland Allen commentating or playing the event?
Look, I'm probably in the same boat as Kish. I'd probably... I'd put commentary just that step higher in terms of priorities than playing. So probably would prefer to commentate. Love to give it a shot and do it. Seems like it'd be a lot of fun. That's a pretty trite answer, but it's definitely true. Absolutely.
Kishara, I feel like I don't have to ask you because you answered my question earlier. But what I do want to ask you is, what would it mean to you to be able to have the opportunity to cast a big event like that, even casting a regionals or a national championships, something like that in the future?
It would be massive. I mean, it would be quite flattering, to be honest, to be even considered in that role. And basically, to be a commentator representing Australia and New Zealand would be amazing. It would mean a whole lot to me, to be honest. I'd probably put that honor above any of my achievements in the Pokemon trading card game so far. So it would be massive for me personally.
I want to ask you guys a question about your commentary style. You guys both commentate together for the most part, and you have a fantastic rapport that I've noticed throughout the videos that I watch.
Thank you.
What did you guys do to practice your commentary? Did you watch American streams? Did you watch American playback of big events, regionals and nationals from previous years to learn anything, Kishara?
Me personally, I'm always watching the streams. get up early in the morning, stay up late at night just to watch the streams, and I've been a massive fan of the Top Cut when they were putting out content. So I guess it's sort of been ingrained in me just from watching those, just what you need to do to be a good commentator, and you definitely notice what the good commentators do. So in terms of formal practice, I don't think I've done a whole lot personally, but just through watching a lot and listening to a lot of good commentators, I've picked up a few things along the way, which I definitely consciously try to input into my commentary.
Roland, how about you?
Yeah, I think might be a similar story. Yeah, and I think I would have sort of picked up stuff just by like osmosis. You know, and the Top Cut I think is the gold standard. Unfortunately, they're not around anymore, but you know when they were around, yeah, and particularly Karl Puka-Sukovic, Lord and Savior. Yeah, no, it was really good. So the gold standard commentary, and I think I just sort of picked up sort of the flow and the content that good commentary sort of has, and hopefully I think that's influenced the way that we do it. But yeah, again, as Kish said, in terms of like formal kind of sort of practice, haven't done too much of that, but yeah, just sort of picking up by osmosis.
What is your guys' plan? I'm going to ask you first this time, Roland. Going forward with your content, there's only so many league challenges and there's only so many league cups in Melbourne in a year. So do you guys have any additional content or any new and exciting content you guys are thinking about doing or planning for the future?
Yeah, so, well, our next video is going to be a rap battle. Yeah, no, seriously though. Yeah, look, there's a few things we've been sort of tossing around. Like one thing that I was thinking of doing is like a set review. Maybe the ship sailed on Sun and Moon, but whatever the next set is, might do something like that. I think that's kind of a fun thing to do. Yeah, just things that have general appeal. So yeah, like sort of deck profiles and yeah, things like that. We could even do interviews, like Ace Trader does, which I really like. With players who've done well at events and that sort of thing. Yeah, we could branch out into different types of content. It's good to diversify and just get different types of people you might not otherwise get to your channel. Yeah, so I've thought about it a bit, but yeah, could always do some more thinking and any ideas, because you guys have done heaps of stuff and we would love to sort of be able to pick your brains and yeah.
Kishara, same question to you, mate.
So yeah, I think we're relatively new to this, so we've basically been focused on the league challenges, as you said, up until this point. But yeah, we've been spitballing a lot of ideas, like Twitch streaming, and even Twitch streaming games against each other with new deck ideas and things like that. So that's a possibility in the future, and it's hopefully something we get off the ground. And as Roland said, interviews, even like pack openings and things. I know I personally am a bit of a pack fiend. I just can't get enough of the gamble. So yeah, there's a lot you can do in the Pokemon trading card game. So I guess the most important thing for us is putting out quality at this point. So we'll definitely probably are more focused on the competitive side. So possibly Twitch streaming might be our next venture.
I want to go backwards, but also going forwards at the same time. It's not going to really make sense, but it does to me. And since I'm leading the interview, that's all that matters. I want to chat to you originally, Roland, because on the weekend you were the first place victor of a league challenge. What was the deck that you were playing on the day?
I played Gyarados. Yeah, so I think probably most people know what that deck's about now, but sort of rose to prominence a few months ago. But as will be detailed in my interview with Ellis, yeah. So there's sort of a funny story as to like how I guess I came up with the deck, but also perhaps in parallel or before it sort of was developed in the US. We sort of have a pet theory going around that sort of me and Kish playing the deck online on our PDCGO account might have actually influenced the person who came up with the deck in the US.
Yeah.
It's sort of a bit of a conspiracy tinfoil hat thing at the moment, but it does have some evidence to support it. I'm reliably informed that I think the person in either who played the deck or in sort of his team, like first sort of thought of the deck when he played against it online on PDCGO. So there's a chance that was us. You never know. But yeah, so to cut a long story short, I played Gyarados, and yeah.
I have a wacky theory with that too. After I won the first league challenge of the season in Brisbane, I posted my list online, which included a Spinder in Gardevoir.
Yeah.
And until that point, there had been no lists showcasing or talking about Spinder whatsoever.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, it won a regionals, and it placed well in league cups, and lists started popping up everywhere with Spinder. So I'm not going to say I invented the Spinder card in Gardevoir, but
it can be traced back to you.
Yeah, there's a succession, there's a line of lineage that dates directly back to my Hey post about 3 months ago.
Nice, good job.
Yeah.
Knowing all the cards in the format.
All right, thank you for that, Roland. And Kishara, I want to go to you now, and I want to chat to you about your results this year. So we heard from Roland that he's had some success playing Gyarados, and that he may or may not have invented the deck. It still remains to be seen. I'll side with the fact that he did. I reckon I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. But I would like to speak to your results for this year, Kishara. How have you performed so far?
So I think I've competed in maybe 3 league challenges this year, and I've pretty much just been exclusively piloting Volcanion. And I haven't done too great. I think I've placed sort of between 10th and 15th, or 9th and 15th in all 3. Basically, I think in all 3, if I'd won my last round, I would have got into top 4 points and things like that. But in all 3 cases, I ended up losing my last round, unfortunately. So I haven't done too well. But fortunately, they've all only been small events so far. So hopefully, things will start moving in the upward direction soon.
I want to chat to you about your deck choice of Volcanion. Now, it was one of the biggest decks to come out of a Steam Siege, of course, being that every card in the deck pretty much was released in Steam Siege in one way or another. What do you think of Volcanion in this current metagame?
I think Volcanion's a really good deck. Pretty much anything apart from Gyarados and maybe Greninja, anything that doesn't play Garbodor, you just kind of stomp them. Volcanion EX is such a heavy hitter with Steam Up and even the baby Volcanion. And anything with Garbodor, they don't usually play a thick Garbodor line. It's usually 2-2, so it's hard for them to set it up. So there are opportunities to Escape Rope or Lysander the Trubbish to knock it out. So personally, I play the deck because I can't stand Enhance Hammer. That card just drives me nuts if I get my double colorless or double dragon Enhance Hammer away, because there's no way to predict when that Enhance Hammer is going to come down. So I play only decks with basic energy, basically, and also you're not fallible to mill decks and things like that because of baby Volcanion. So overall, I just think the deck is really well balanced. It's probably not the strongest deck in this current meta, but I think it gives you a chance in every matchup. So that's what I like in decks. I like to know that I go into virtually every matchup with a chance to win, even if it's unfavorable. So, yeah.
That's one of the good things about this format, too. There's a couple of decks in the format that really stand out and say, this feels balanced, and it feels like it can do multiple things. I want to talk about a deck that has a very linear strategy, and that's Gyarados now. Roland, I want to ask you about it. The decks that we've seen in Gyarados in the last 2 weeks, we're recording this on the 16th of January, and there was a couple of big regional events in America and Europe. The deck has been playing Lucky Helmet. Now, what is your thoughts on cards like this in Gyarados that haven't seen any play in any standard format deck since their inception, but somehow always find their way into a Gyarados deck?
Yeah, I think Gyarados is just a weird deck, and so it's going to play cards that literally are not played in anything else. So Team Magma Secret Base is the classic one of those. The card was like $1 or $2, and then Gyarados became popular, and it skyrocketed in price. You just plays these really niche cards, and it's kind of like what we're seeing here. Yeah, Lucky Helmet's an interesting one. I would still favor Bursting Balloon. I think Lucky Helmet, well, it depends on sort of what list you're running. So I play Octillery in my list. I don't play Shaman, so mine's a bit of a different list to most of the Gyarados lists that you see. I definitely wouldn't run Lucky Helmet in that, because that sort of has a bit of an anti-synergy with Octillery. Even in the Shaman list, I think Bursting Balloon is probably a bit superior, but look, these guys have obviously done testing with Locking Helmet, and they've come to the conclusion that in their lists, probably gives them a bit more utility than Bursting Balloon. My gut instinct would tell me that isn't the case, but I'm not an expert on that card in those sort of Shaman lists, which are different to mine. It is sort of it's a funky card, and they obviously think that they get some use out of it.
Do you think, I want to ask you one more question about Gyarados. Do you think that the deck's popularity is solely based on how many people don't care about Gyarados as a deck?
Yeah, it's very, because it's so easily counterable, you don't want to play the deck if you think that other people think that it's going to be a big deal, if that makes sense. So I think that Gyarados can never become a big enough share of the format. Like, it could never be more than, say, 10%. That's just an arbitrary figure, but yeah, something like it can never be more than 10% of the field. If it ever gets too big, well, then every deck that plays Garbodor will just take in a Spinder. You might even start seeing Celebi promo or Azelf promo, or all these just litany of random cards that just completely pulverize Garbodor and leave you with absolutely no chance of winning, which are relatively splashable. I think that's absolutely right. I think that it can only ever be a niche deck, such that there's only a few of it at an event, because if it gets too popular, well, then you'll just see a bit of backlash. Only a small amount of backlash is all you need to completely destroy the deck. It's much more fragile, sort of from a metagame point of view, than other decks are. Other decks are a lot more resilient, but Gyarados is absolutely not resilient. It's fragile in terms of what it can't beat.
I want to go back to you now, Kishara. We're going to look forward in a moment. We're going to talk about Sun and Moon. But I want to ask you, how do you think Volcanion fares going forward into a new Sun and Moon style format?
I think Volcanion really will stand up to the format going into Sun and Moon. A lot of the hyped cards from Sun and Moon are sort of the Lurantis builds, which are grass types. And I know people saying Lurantis Vileplume is just going to be the most broken deck ever, which is a grass type. And Volcanion being a fire type, obviously, weakness is huge in the Pokemon trading card game. So just having the type advantage, even over an item locking deck, means that Volcanion, I think, will still be pretty good. And if that item locking deck does become big, it sort of takes away some of Volcanion's worst matchups, sort of like the Gyarados, like the Greninja. Greninja obviously weak to grass and things like that. So I think Volcanion going forward is still a really solid deck. So I'm quite happy. And that's one of the reasons why I've sort of persisted playing Volcanion, is because I think it's a bit future-proof, unlike some of the other decks in the format right now.
Roland, my question to you is the same, but about Gyarados. Now, how do you think Gyarados fares going forward? Are there any cards that you see may be included in Gyarados in the future?
Yeah, in terms of what the deck can use, I think you might see some lists play like Choice Band. That could be an alternative to Bursting Balloon. I'm not totally sold on it. I really do like Bursting Balloon. I think that's probably the best tool still, but Choice Band could see some play. I don't think there are too many cards that from Sun and Moon that could be used in Gyarados. I might just be forgetting them, but I think it's a deck that doesn't gain heaps, and there are possibly a few threats in the set for the deck. I'm not sure exactly how the metagame will shape, because it could even be that even if there are certain cards in Sun and Moon that don't directly counter Gyarados, they could make other decks which do counter Gyarados better or worse, and you never know exactly how the change in format's going to affect the existing decks. Sometimes it can be a bit counterintuitive, so it sort of remains to be seen, I think.
Let's go into a bit of a Sun and Moon discussion now. We were chatting a little bit before we started our interview today about some of the Sun and Moon cards that we might be seeing, and some of the cards that we think will be good going forward. So my first question is to Kishara. What is your favorite card that you've seen coming out of Sun and Moon?
Favorite card is definitely Oranguru, hands down. Just the ability to be able to draw up to 3 cards. So the old delinquent down to 0 is not going to be a thing, unless of course they play Garbodor to shut off your ability. But just being able to end proof yourself a little bit is just great, in my opinion. N is just such a game swinger. You can be 1 prize away from winning and just get N to 1 and then whiff for a few turns and you lose. despite having been ahead the whole game. So I think Oranguru is my favorite card in the set for sure.
I think the really big thing to note about Oranguru is how often I feel like I top deck Ultra Ball when I'm into one.
Mm.
And I think
Yep, that's right.
Oranguru sort of it proofs yourself from top decking these
Yeah.
cards that wouldn't be used.
Definitely. Yeah. So definitely that's a great point. Ultra Ball just becomes live even if you get into one. So yeah.
Roland, now you're not allowed to say Oranguru even if it is your favorite. So if it is, pick your second favorite. But what do you think about the Sun and Moon TCG set, and what is your favorite card that you've seen so far?
Well, this card is definitely my favorite. I'm not sure I'm pronouncing this correctly. Serena. The stage 2 grass Pokemon. Haven't really heard too many people express a fondness for it, but I really think it's a great card. You know, it's like that old Weavile from Undaunted. I think being able to discard cards from your opponent's hand and you choosing which cards you discard is actually so strong. And given that you can use Forest of Giant Plants combined with Devolution Spray, you could just nuke your opponent's, all of their supporters down in one turn, on the first turn even, going first. I think it has huge potential, disruptive potential, even combined with like Delinquent. I think that if you could find the right partner, if you could find like a cheap, sort of efficient attacker that doesn't require a lot of deck space, maybe even Lurantis fits that bill, especially given the synergy from Forest of Giant Plants. I think that Serena could really blow the metagame wide open, or it could just be a whole pile of garbage. That's the thing with these cards, you never know. But it seems fun.
Yeah.
It seems even better in Expanded, I've got to be honest. In Australia, we don't have Expanded, and there is always this talk about cards being better in Expanded because of the increased pool. But I feel like in a meta where Forest of Giant Plants may very well be the best card in the game, if you move things to Expanded, you have things like Super Scoop Up, and you have AZ as well to just reset all of these Stage 1 and Stage 2 Pokemon over and over again. I don't want to think about the possibilities of Serena in Expanded, just Super Scoop Upping all of my things.
Yeah, that's a great point. Thank goodness we don't have Expanded here. My brain would just explode, I think.
I don't understand the Americans' fondness for Expanded. It just seems like complete mayhem, you know. I'm glad we have Standard.
Yeah.
All right, guys. I want to talk to you now about Sun and Moon as a whole. Roland, you and I were chatting before we started this about the card design of Sun and Moon appearing to be sort of on an improved level to previous sets. And I want to get your thoughts first, Kishara, on this. What do you think of the overall design of the Sun and Moon set?
I think it's great. I think they've more or less had a very similar design to the cards for a number of years now, and to see a shift in design, and I think overall, as you said, I think the cards look better, I quite like the design. The only thing I'll question is why they have 3 different types of Umbreon GX. I have no idea why they would make like the normal art, the full art, and the secret rare. It's just, it's weird. But apart from that, I'm a big fan,
Roland, now, of course, I got your thoughts off camera, but I want to ask the same question to you about the Sun and Moon set.
Yeah, so I think it's well designed, and I think sort of as a bit of a departure from some of the other sets, some of the cards are kind of subtle in that they don't necessarily sort of hit you over the head and say, this card obviously works with this card, and you should definitely play this. I know, Bertie, I used the example with you, if you remember Roaring Skies with there was Skyfield and Mega Rayquaza and Shaman EX all came out in the same set. It's like, I think Roaring Skies came out, had Skyfield in it, it's just like, obviously, they're saying, play this deck, it's good, all these cards work together, it's very obvious. Whereas here, I think it is a bit more subtle. There aren't, cards that, so you might think, okay, well, Lurantis, seems like a card with potential, but maybe not on its own, and you've got to figure out what partners do I put with it. And maybe the same with Serena and all these other sort of cards. Like, on their own, they're kind of not quite, a top-tier deck, but if you can have the ingenuity and figure out what cards it works with, well, then you get to reap the rewards. So I like that sort of that subtlety and, the reward for good sort of idea making and deck building.
There's probably, I would say, about 10 to 12 cards currently that people have gone around while the Sun and Moon set has leaked. Now we have a full set list that people have said, this card is good. Here's why. Look, this card has potential. This card will be good in this, and this card makes this viable, etc. What I want to ask you first, Kishara, is there a card in Sun and Moon that you think is receiving too much hype? Maybe because the card is not as good as described, or because people are thinking about the card in the wrong way?
Too much hype. The only thing that springs to mind with too much hype might be the Umbreon GX. I think it's a bit underpowered, in my opinion. Especially, I mean, a lot of people are saying, oh, you can use evolutions to, like the ones from Ancient Origins that allow you to change the types of your stage 1, so you're constantly hitting for weakness. I think Umbreon GX is a little bit underpowered in this format. And even going forward, 50. I think it snipes for 50, doesn't it?
No, it's like 30.
It's night
30.
So it's 90,
so it's even weaker than I thought. So going forward, I think people are saying, it's good. As the format slows down, you have more basics and stage 1s to snipe on the bench. I don't know. It just seems weak to me. 90 damage isn't a whole lot these days, in the same way that you don't really see the old Darkrai EX being used as an attacker too much in Expanded. It's just outclassed, basically. It's only usually there for its Dark Cloak ability, but yeah. So I think that's probably the only card I can think of that's getting too much hype. Everything else seems relatively at the level it should be in terms of hype.
Alright, Roland, same question to you. What do you think is an overhyped card in the set?
Yeah, I think you stole my answer, Kish. Yeah, I think Umbreon particularly, and to the extent that Espeon's being hyped up, I think the evolutions are being overvalued at this point. I just think that they're not powerful enough. I mean, yes, you can change their types and hit for weakness, but the problem with that is, well, obviously Garbodor shuts that off, and there are just certain types that you just can't hit for. You know, you can't hit Grass for Greninja. I don't see how you could ever possibly win that matchup. And just, examples like that, I just think that they're not quite good enough. They're not sort of like actively atrocious and terrible or anything like that, but I just get the sense that they don't quite have that, that extra factor to be a tier 1 deck. I would be surprised if, that became a popular deck, if even a fringe deck.
Alright, we're going to go in the opposite direction this time. Roland, I'm going to start with you, just as we're still on the sort of the Sun and Moon. Do you guys think that there is a card that hasn't received any hype, or barely any, or hasn't been talked about all that much, that it is better than people are giving it credit for? Roland, we'll start with you.
Yeah, I'd probably double up on my last answer. Is I haven't heard anything about Serena, the card. Look, maybe I just haven't been in the right circles, but I sort of haven't heard much hype about that. And I think that has the chance to be good. I also like that supporter card that's like, it's like Bianca, Ilima, I think it is. No, that's right. That's
Lily. Lily is the Bianca.
Yes. Yeah, so it's like a Bianca at worst, but if you play it in your first 10, you get to drop to 8. I think that could be a nice niche supporter card. I think this format's kind of lacking for good sort of draw supporter cards. Oh, and on that topic, the one that's like the spiritual successor of Buck's Training, Professor Kukui, that's right. I think we could see that play. The extra 20 damage, drawing 2 cards. It's like Giovanni's, but probably better. I think we could see that, being played, and I don't think people have really been talking about that. So I think there's 2 good supporters in there that sort of haven't been hyped up, but you could definitely see, at least as a one-of index, and obviously I think Serena's a good Pokemon as well. I'd say that those are, my top under-the-radar cards, but it's always hard sort of perfectly judging public opinion. So, maybe there are heaps of people hyping up these cards and I'm just not talking to them, but that's sort of how I see it at the moment.
Kishara, how about you?
I'm not too sure if too many cards have been sort of underhyped. But maybe one that might be flying under the radar is Taurus GX. I think that's a really good card. Being a basic in a GX is always going to be good, and it's got 3 great attacks that use colorless energy, so it's splashable in virtually every deck. You can use double colorless energy. So I think Taurus GX might be one of those, just like 1 or 2 ofs in some decks. So I think it's probably one that I like.
Alright guys, so before we sign off, for this evening, I want to give you guys now basically the floor, and what I want you to do is pitch Porygon2ube to the audience out here. Why should people subscribe to Porygon2ube? Obviously, I have my own answer, and I know why that I subscribe to you guys and follow your work. But I want you to talk to an audience of Pokemon lovers out there and tell them why the Porygon2ube is the content for them. We'll start with Kishara.
Why Porygon2ube? I think we're Australian content, so that's unique in itself. And I always find the Australian metagame to be extremely unique, more so than the US or anywhere like that. I mean, you can just have a look at our videos. We feature some pretty crazy decks, like the Dugong deck. What else have we done? Raichu bats with a fungus engine.
Yeah.
It's just you see some really crazy, versatile, interesting decks in Australia. And while they might not always be sort of the most efficient versions of that deck, I think just being able to see how cards work in different ways and different ways of thinking is just great for anyone. Just new ideas in Pokemon is always good, and I think us being able to get Australian content out there means that those new ideas will maybe come to the fore a bit, and who knows, someone might be able to think of some great rogue that's gonna take down worlds just from seeing a fungus in Joseph Tran's Raichu Bats deck. I think us just being able to get Australian content out there just contributes a whole nother side to the Pokemon TCG game. So it's definitely worthwhile watching. It's not just like watching the same old Evil Tile Garb games over and over. So I think it's definitely worth subscribing to us.
Roland, you have the floor now, my friend.
Yep. Okay. So, in addition to that, which I think is a good reason, so having that Australian touch to it, I think just the fact that we will have a lot of different types of content. So if you want to watch, games, stream games, recorded games, well, obviously check out our channel. We've got plenty of that, and there's plenty more to come. But if you're into, other things, we'll definitely have those up probably within the next month. Like I mentioned, things like set reviews, deck profiles. Possibly interviews with sort of winners of tournaments and all that sort of stuff. So, we're going to try and be a diverse channel in terms of the content that we put out. So, regardless of what you're interested in, we might have something there for you, in the Pokemon sphere. And, so I'd say that's my side to the pitch.
Guys, I want to thank you both very much for joining me this evening. It has been a real pleasure, especially as that we are growing at a very similar rate. And you guys have been doing some fantastic work in the Australian community. It really means a lot to me that you guys are able to come on not only to chat about Pokemon, the card game, and Pokemon, the content provider. And that's really important to me, and I want to thank you guys both for joining me this evening for that.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, thanks very much for having us and thinking about interviewing us. We really appreciate the opportunity. So, thanks very much, Bodhi.
Now, guys, before we sign off, is there anyone that you would like to give a shout out to? Any players in your local community? Any friends or anything like that you want to shout out before we head off?
For me personally, shout out to all the players that let us record their games. Everyone's been absolutely fantastic. I really thought it would be a hard time getting people to allow us to record their games, but everyone's been amazing. Even so, if you want to be recorded, if you want to play on a recorded game, definitely approach myself or Roland throughout the tournament, and we'll definitely do our best to get you on there. So shout out to the whole community, really, in Victoria, and then we'll be hopefully traveling around and getting some other states in as well.
Yeah, definitely. I second that. Absolutely.
Alright, boys. Well, for myself, Brody Cutler, Ace Trainer Australia, I want to thank both Kishara De Silva and Roland Allen of Porygon2ube for joining me this evening. That's all for this interview, and we'll see you guys next time. Bye now.